Hello there and welcome to Shuttlebay 4. Now this episode was actually recorded last October, so it's a little bit old and maybe not quite as structured as our more recent output. Anyway, we talk about the Deep Space Nine episode Empok Nor, which is the one where a scouting mission goes to an abandoned Cardassian space station to get some spare parts for Deep Space Nine. And the whole thing turns into a bit of a horror show.
I got COVID. And just because I know how much we all share.
I thought you were going to say you've got shits as well.
Can you see my background?
I can, yeah. Can't quite see where it is, though.
It's the Deep Space Nine on an angle. Well, it's not. It's Empok
right,
Nor, obviously, because it's on an angle.
He's wearing his command top this week.
I'm not. It's just a T-shirt. It's that colour.
Well, the first convention I went to, that would have been my cosplay.
Well, my first convention, I just wore a Kirk T-shirt. Hey, wait a minute, Dan. Say the word.
What word? Oh, I forgot the word. Wait there, just give me a minute. Give me a minute. I've had a really tough day. The word is, don't tell me. It is parallax.
What particles? Oh, right. What are you doing? Just laughing. I don't know if you saw, Penfold is like on holiday in Cornwall and the weather's just gone crazy. So they're all like locked in their chalet hoping they don't die.
Oh, no. What about Patches?
I don't know, I haven't heard of Patches.
What's happening with my video? It keeps freezing.
It's not on our side though.
I'm like going like this. Can I just say to everybody, right? Cheers.
Whoa!
I feel like I'm made.
Rachel. I mean, oh my god!
He is looking a bit rough.
I can't resist it. It was like, it's Halloween. It's the last one before November. You've got to have a go at you. Honestly, though, my temperature is up and down like a yo-yo. It's awful. But I got it yesterday morning. I was like, yes, rest of the week off.
You're the only person I know who's like, yes, I've got COVID.
It's almost worth the pain.
Chris sent a message saying he can't find the link to get in. I'll just tell him shuttlebay4.com. I mean, vision's gone all weird. 4.com.
You haven't got glasses on?
I haven't put my glasses on them. Maybe I'll need to put them on. Right, slag Chris off before he jumps on.
That bloke, Chris. Hell, what a dick.
Oh god, he loves himself, doesn't he?
Oh, so up his arse.
What an absolute dick Chris is. He's brought this down. In fact, our number of views on YouTube has gone backwards since Chris joined.
People are demanding an hour of their life back.
To be fair, Chris, right? They'll listen to this and he will giggle.
He'll laugh at this. He'll think it's funny.
He has got a really good sense of humor.
He has, yeah.
Chris,
hello.
We were just talking about you.
Yeah, and I love the bar. And...
all good, don't worry.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, Chris. Oh, here we go.
Oh,
Patches on. Patches. Never ever play with Patches. I just think before we start, I just feel like we've got 2 shout-outs actually that we need to do this week. Number one is Emma, because she messaged to say she's in A&E, so we'll just hope that everything's all right with them, and hopefully she's there for some comedy reason. You know, the classic, I fell over and landed on a toilet brush, that sort of thing. And so
don't take my name in vain.
Classic Emma.
You're saying Emma's in A&E, and you got me all confused. And now I've messaged James to see where he is, and it's James that have said he's in A&E.
I thought Emma said she's in A&E.
Sorry for the fellow Trekkies, I'm in A&E, so I'm going to have to miss tonight's show. That's James.
Oh, yeah, right, that is James, yeah. Sorry,
I was thinking, what are you on about Emma? Emma's just out on a jolly.
Do you know what? Right, I'm not even going to stick that in because I look like a right dick, so I'm going to start again and say 2 shout-outs. Number one, James.
Dan,
Yeah?
have we got any shout-outs this week?
Oh, I do hope we have a couple.
Do you know what, Patches? I'm very glad you asked. I think we've probably got 2. Number one, James, who apparently is in A&E, not Emma. So we hope James is okay and is only in A&E with one of those comedy things like falling over and landing on a toilet brush.
Don't take my name in vain.
I do feel bad now. I just quickly saw the message before I jumped on. So James, I apologise. If you're in A&E, well, you are. I don't suppose you're lying. You've got no reason to lie. Fingers crossed you're okay, and they can remove that toilet brush without causing too much damage to your colon or anything like that.
Don't take my easy.
I think that's going to be neat. I think you're going to need to do that again a bit more sincere, because what I got was James help you.
Yeah, James, you're in hospital.
Apologies, James. If it is bad, then I do apologise. If you've got like mangled limbs and everything, or you might not even be ill yourself. You might have taken, someone near and dear to you. But yeah, needless to say,
Stop digging your hole now.
I'm digging a hole, and secondly,
Yeah.
the second shout out is that the girl who works in the works at, is it Newport or Cardiff?
Oh, Newport, yeah.
Newport. If you work in the works
Sarah.
at Newport,
Sarah.
Sarah.
Oh yeah.
Sarah, I will be in maybe tomorrow to show. Oh well, if she wants to show you the photo. Am I Diana Troy Funko?
She might not even like Star. She might
It
be like
might be
Steve.
next week. No, she
doesn't
does like Star Trek. She does like it. Do you want some
Right,
background, people?
Go on then.
So I went into, when I bought that Picard book, I went into the works to buy it, and when I took it to the counter, Sarah, who served me, she pointed at it, the cover, and went, "Can you believe my colleague said, 'Oh look, is that Kirk?'" And I went, "Oh my God, are you serious?" And she went, "Honestly, he's just this fool." So Sarah's workmate, you're a fool. And then she started talking about, "Oh yeah, I like Star Trek, blah blah," and I immediately told her about the convention I was going to, and she was like, "Oh, you'll have to come back in and show me the photo."
Are you literally just going to go in and show the photo? You're going to have to buy something, surely. If you
Don't be
just
so
queue,
stupid. Why do I have to buy something? I've already bought something.
if you queue, right, and you get to the front of the queue, right, and Sarah's on the till.
Wait a minute
Sarah.
now. We're talking about the Newport Works. There's not a queue. They're desperate for people to come in. She just wants to chat. I think the largest queue I've had to queue in is like one other person in front of me.
Well,
I do love it at the work, so when they try and flog you something extra, like, "Oh, do you need any pens?"
Yes, I took a few notes, but I actually found myself enjoying the episode too much to actually critique it.
Yeah.
And also,
I'm the same.
Patches, if they haven't watched it yet, it's too late.
It's not.
It's a bit late, isn't it?
I'll just rewatch. I'll just watch it and I'll edit it in, and then you
Oh
segment.
yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Are we going to move on to the episode now then?
Quickly, yeah.
I do feel bad 'cause I've not seen it. I just really didn't get time. I've been so super busy.
Ladies and gentlemen, our showrunner. Thank you.
Chris, you don't know that you're going to be kicked out next week if you keep this up.
And then
I liked how the episode began. Again, it started kind of in Quarks, and so it starts off in Quarks and it moves on. There's a bit of a Lower Decks vibe to how the episode starts, where you've got some ensigns and junior officers arguing and bickering and trophy hunting and things like that. I like the fact that O'Brien doesn't like to be called sir. He's a chief. He's not an officer. And I think Andy Robinson steals the show. There's definitely a Ridley Scott thing going on in this episode the whole way through. So it starts off with, things coming out of the darkness, and it's got that alien or aliens, both films really. It's got that aliens vibe. Do you know what I mean? They're in a really dank, derelict space setting, and they're being stalked by a murderous, unseen entity, which turns out to be some Cardassian like special forces or something like that, like the First Order and stuff. And you do hear that, people screaming down corridors and all of that kind of stuff. I think it borrowed a lot from Aliens. And then through the middle of that, Garak turns into a homicidal maniac, starts stabbing people with what is it, a flux something, when he just says it. Yeah, flux coupler. Bang, have that. So only Andy Robinson can make that sound remotely ominous.
And he really does. That line is really good line.
Yeah, it's a flux coupler, and he just stabs him with it. Again, the guy that he stabbed, I quite like, in a cheesy Star Trek kind of way. I like the way that he died. He went, "Garak, he stabbed me."
Yeah, you had to be able to say that to carry on the plot.
Yeah, and then died. And I thought that was a bit cheesy. I suppose at the end of it, all's well that ends well.
The spot.
It's a spot.
Sorry, Patrick.
It's a good episode. It is one of the best. It takes a break from the serialized storyline. It's a cheap way to redress the sets and call it somewhere else as well. No, it's a good solid episode. It's very memorable, and I did like it.
Brilliant, cheers. Apologies for distracting things with the cat, but I just had to let her ring. She was scratching at the door and she stinks. So she fell in the bin. But yeah.
And on that note, because you did that, I'm going to storm off in disgust. So,
Cheers, Patches. Yeah.
Who wants to go next?
Well, I thought we could slag Patches off now. He's just left.
Yeah, God, he talks a lot to me.
Right.
Fuck you.
But then how can I
Jeez.
say that?
In all seriousness, though, Patches does come up with some really good points to talk about, and it's always, he always talks about episodes and gives quite a lot of insight into them. It's not just a case of, it was good, this.
No, he's got a load of knowledge. Yeah, absolutely. He's got loads of knowledge. And it's really interesting because he does come from the opposite point of view with some of us as well. So.
Yeah. No, exactly, yeah.
And so also Penfold has also given me a little bit about the episode. So he said it's an incredible episode, really atmospheric music. He always loves Chief O'Brien episodes. And this hinted to his Cardi War stuff, which was really interesting because we picked up on that in one TNG episode and they kind of followed through a little bit. I really love to see the war.
Sorry, did you say you've just followed through a bit?
All right.
So I liked at the beginning of the episode the banter between Chief O'Brien and Garak, where he said, "Don't worry, he said, I will never have you over for dinner."
People are going to be inviting me to their homes for dinner. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I promise I will never have you over.
And that to and from, I love that. That was great. When Nog walked in with a phaser rifle, it was as big as he was.
Yeah, it was huge.
I mean, it was like totally out of proportion. Wasn't it?
Very well, Chief.
Andrew Robinson, let's be fair. Okay, he is the nicest man on the planet. If for those people that have met him, he's just absolutely lovely. And to see the look in his eyes when he was killing those Cardassians, that was actually quite chilling. How someone can just switch like that. I was uberly impressed. Another thing I liked was the pace of the episode, because normally when you see films like this, like Die Hard, for example, it can take quite a long time between each person getting killed and for it to ramp up to the end, but then you've got to fill a 2-hour slot, whereas this was 45 minutes. So the death scenes, they happened quite quickly. And it made the pace of it go a lot quicker. The episode was intriguing. It was thrilling. I spent more time watching it than I did critiquing it because it was that good. So that's what I've got. That's it.
I wish I'd watched it now.
It's really
I wish I
memorable. Do
critiqued it
you
now.
remember a lot of it, Dan? Because it's quite a memorable episode.
Not really. When I heard the title Empok Nor, that really resonated. I thought, but I just honestly, and you know me, my memory is just terrible. I mean, all these things blend into one. I mean, in my mind, I've only ever watched one episode of TNG. It's went on for about 60 hours. But yeah, it doesn't really ring a bell. But I am going to watch it. I'm working again tonight, but if I get time, I might watch it tonight or tomorrow, and I'll just quickly do it. I'm going to do it right now. So in about 10 seconds time, I'm going to do Empok Nor by me in less than a minute. Now, boom, there we go.
Can you do it so that you're just a floating head just popping along while you say it?
Okay, I will do that. Now I'm going to be a bobbing head just floating around the screen, talking about the episode.
Thanks very much.
Pleasure. Okay, so here are my thoughts on the episode Empok Nor. I'll keep this quick. I've got some bullet points which I'm going to read through now. So, it was great seeing Nog and O'Brien. I forgot how great a character Nog is. Definitely one of the best in Deep Space Nine. The plan to go to Empok Nor to fetch materials was a really good way to remind us that Deep Space Nine has an interesting and very dark past. Brush and Patches both mentioned there's a lower decks feel to this, and I completely get that. Those junior grade officers who are in the episode, they have a lot of banter, they have some chat, they share some humour, and they feel as though that they exist outside of this episode. They feel like fully fleshed out characters, which makes it so shocking when they all die. O'Brien says that he isn't a soldier anymore. This hints at an interesting past, and it also maybe suggests why he doesn't want to be a rank and file officer anymore and does not want to be called Sir. Garak is brilliant. He's constantly antagonising people, constantly winding people up. It feels as though it's partly for his own enjoyment and partly to establish a bit of authority over other people. And also, it's a way for him to reveal that he knows stuff about people, their personal histories, and he wants them to know that he knows. There's also a humorous line that Garak says near the beginning when they land on Empok Nor, where he says, "Take whatever you need, my house is your house." Now, at first, it just seems like a throwaway, fairly funny line, but it means more than that. It's him establishing authority again. This is his domain. He is giving you permission to take what you need. O'Brien is a great leader. When things go a bit awry, to put it mildly, he reassures the cadets and gets them to focus on the job at hand. This episode also reveals the ugly side of humanity. Although it's Garak that goes, mental and starts killing people, one of the junior officers, when they're hunting down Garak, says, "I want to get him myself," which, like I say, revealed, the more aggressive side of humanity. Patches mentions the Ridley Scott alien feel to this episode, and I agree with that. There's a claustrophobic sense of being hunted down within an enclosed space, and the episode does that really, really well. Brush mentions the music in this episode, and I actually thought that part of the music in this episode really sounds like Jerry Goldsmith's music to Alien, especially the opening sequence to Alien where the letters are appearing on the screen. It might be pure coincidence, but there's definitely some similarities in one of the musical cues in this episode and the film Alien. Now, there is a lot of love for this episode, but I'm not sure that I share it. I do like it. I think it's brilliantly executed. I think they've done a superb job of creating a very scary episode. It's very dark in tone. You've got those bodies hanging from galleyways and such like. But I didn't like to see Garak simply kill that guy in such a brutal way. I know he wasn't in full control of himself, but like I said before, the episode gives a sense that these junior officers had lives outside of this episode. To see them slaughtered was really shocking. And also, it's just too conveniently wrapped up. Yeah, Garak's not himself, and the fact that these officers, who you do kind of care for in this episode, they get murdered in a really nasty way. The bodies are desecrated, and it never seems to get mentioned again. It's got no impact beyond this episode. We kind of hit the reset switch and continue as normal from this point onwards. And I felt that was a real shame. But that's it. Those are my comments on this episode. But before I say goodbye, Steve did say that my head needs to float around the screen, so I shall try my best now. Ooh, I'm feeling dizzy now.
I don't have a lot of notes about this. It was actually something Chris said that I struggle with every episode that we watch. I find it difficult to criticise something. I don't have a lot of notes, so most of the time I was just concentrating on the episode. I was like, oh, what's going to happen next? But this episode I actually liked, and it was very helpful that Garak was in it, because I really like Garak. What do I have? So I have one little criticism. That point when they're on the other space station or deep space, whatever it was. They had the stasis chambers, and there was this one that they opened. I think it was the first one that they opened, and there was this big gaping hole in it. There was this big hole in the cover, and I was like, oh well, the first thing I thought, oh well, whoever's in there is dead, obviously. And then they opened it, and they were like, surprised that person was dead. So I was like, well, I told you that there was a Yeah, what I like about this episode as well is that it has non-main characters in it. It has when at the start of the episode, I was like, oh, this is cool. There's going to be characters in it that I've never seen before. I was like, oh, yay. And then as the episode progressed, they each got killed. So I was like, yeah, of course they had to be killed. Because this was the first time for me that I saw this episode. I was shocked when Garak killed that crew member. I was like, oh. I was watching my screen and I was like, oh. And what I really like, the best part of the episode is at the end. Is they were O'Brien and Garak were having this sort of back and forth. Garak was holding Nog hostage, and they were just sort of talking to each other. And at the end, Garak was like, "Oh, maybe you're not a soldier," and O'Brien was like, "You're right, I'm an engineer." And then this tricorder just blew up. He had sort of rigged the tricorder. I was like, "Oh, I thought that was a cool scene. I thought that was really well done." So yeah. So that's my notes. That concludes my notes. So not many, but I did really like this episode.
Rachel, obviously we know you're not a Chief O'Brien fan. How do you think he was in this episode?
Well, I still don't like the character, but I like that last scene when he said, "Oh, you're right, I'm an engineer." I like that bit.
Yeah.
That was cool. But as a character, I just don't like O'Brien.
Okay.
I read when I was reading up in the companion about the episode. I hadn't read this before, but O'Brien is Ira Stephen Bay's favourite character. So he said he loved writing for him and developing his character. And every time they wrote for O'Brien, he made sure there was something interesting or a development in it. It wasn't just just because Chief O'Brien's in it. So I didn't realise that Ira Stephen Bay, it was one of his favourite characters. Oh, hello.
One of the best Chief O'Brien episodes I remember was where Keiko was taken over by one of the Par Wraiths.
Yes, yeah.
That was a fantastic O'Brien episode. If you haven't seen that, Rachel, watch that.
Is really good.
Sorry, what? I was distracted by the cat. What did you say?
A good Chief O'Brien episode. Keiko gets taken over by a Par Wraith. And
Yeah, I don't like Keiko either. So any episode with Keiko and
My favourite line out of it is when they're on the runabout and Garak is playing that game with Nog, and Nog is being Ferengi, and so he says, asking a Ferengi to play a Cardassian game is like asking a Klingon to eat with his mouth closed. I thought that was the best line.
Asking a Ferengi to play a Cardassian game is like asking a Klingon to chew with his mouth closed.
Also, in the runabout scene, and I hadn't picked up on it before, Garak is sitting there doing some tailoring. He's literally got a piece of clothing in front of him and this little thing going on. And I'm like, I've never noticed that before, but he's actually doing tailor work on the runabout. I'm like, wow.
Oh my god, I didn't even notice that.
Well, I've watched this episode about 20 times, Rachel, and that's the first time I've noticed it.
Do you know what's really bad about that? Is that he's tailoring somebody's clothes, right? And then he leaves them on the runabout, and the runabout blows up, so then he's got to go back to the people to explain why they've got no jacket.
That's why he murdered everyone, because he was so pissed off.
Got world's biggest temper tantrum.
Still on the runabout, so Garak kind of says, well, why'd you spend so much time with Bashir on the holodeck then? If you're not like a soldier, why'd you dress up and go? And it came across as a little bit jealous. He was like, what are you doing? Like with Bashir all the time on your own in the holodeck. And I was like, all right, okay. From the moment they got to Empok Nor, I thought the music and the lighting and the atmosphere behind it just immediately became like a horror. It was like, this is horror. It's so dark, and like the station was just in rubble bits, it was like loads of stuff just scattered everywhere. But the lighting, it was always dark all the way through. So I thought it got really, really creepy, and it was really like a perfect haunted house set. Every time Chief O'Brien asked Nog for a new item in my brain, all I could hear is, I wasn't hearing the individual thing. All I was thinking was, tools. No, could you hand me this tool? And then could you always hand me this tool? And that's all I could hear all the way through.
Tools.
For the whole of Star Trek, it's the best jump scare scene ever.
That scene alone right there makes it a good Halloween episode.
Exactly, yeah. If you want to watch that scene, this is 20 minutes and 9 seconds. Sorry. I know, I go too far, didn't I? one of my favourite scenes, and it was because it was really unexpected of a Star Trek episode, is when Chief O'Brien gets to the promenade looking for Garak and Nog, and all the bodies have been hung up. Like, Garak has hung all the bodies up, and it was like, wow, that is harrowing for a Star Trek episode. See all the dead bodies positioned specifically, like, to make him uneasy. Okay, Garak is using that double-handed punch all the time, and boo! Yeah! You got to see
See, I was in a bar fight once, and I tried using the double punch.
Don't worry.
Yeah, no, I got the shit kicked out of me, to be fair.
Yeah, you need both hands. You've got to block as well. Okay, we can do this if you want. After last week's episode, 4 out of 4 this week is 0. There is no guest stars that appeared in it.
Oh no!
Oh my!
Oh my! Oh, Rachel.
It's my
Oh my.
The original pitch for this episode was actually a Worf and Garak story. They were in a runabout and they come across a derelict Obsidian Order ship, which they board, and it's littered with bodies. As they investigate, Garak turns on Worf, and it was going to be that kind of story rather than it being Chief O'Brien.
Oh my.
Andrew Robinson, when Andrew Robinson received the script for this, he was really disappointed, because he actually said it made me uneasy to do that to the character. So he didn't like what they were trying to do with the Garak character. But he said as the script progressed, they lost a lot of what he hated. But what he didn't like was his first ever break was obviously in Dirty Harry, and he played a psychopathic killer. And he said he tried for the rest of his career to avoid being typecast. And then 25 years later is receiving a script that making him a psychopathic killer. So he said he was actually quite disappointed. But when they started to rewrite it, it came out better. And so it wasn't his favorite thing, but he said it was better than when he read the first draft.
Oh my.
We hear the racial slur spoonhead in this episode, which with the producers caused a lot of controversy. They went back and said Gene Roddenberry would never, ever, ever have allowed that to be mentioned, because one of his biggest maxims for Starfleet as a whole was there is no racism in Starfleet. And the reason that they said it caused controversy more than it was actually being heard before in Deep Space Nine episode. It was said by a Bajoran, so contextually it was like, okay, we can understand Bajorans having that kind of hatred and racism for it, but this was said by a Starfleet officer. And interestingly, it's background dialogue, and they've said background dialogue doesn't appear in any script. So, and I didn't know that. They go on to the sound stage where they do like that background kind of stuff for the loop stage. There was a big hoo-ha about it, but they said we let it go because it felt appropriate for this episode and the pressure that they were under at the time.
Oh my.
But there was a lot of back and forth on that apparently. There's a stunt actor in this episode called, I don't know why I think this is interesting, Chester E. Tripp the Third. And wasn't Charles Tucker the Third as well? And they named him Tripp. And so I wonder if that's where his character name came from a little bit.
Bit of a stretch. There's a cat in the way now. I
No,
can't do this, but I've got a cat just literally just.
Awesome. Oh, hello.
Hi.
Clem, what are you doing? Clem.
Ducky pussy. Okay, the suit worn by Garak and the Type 3 phaser were designed for First Contact and reused in this episode. And this is the only episode of Deep Space Nine where we see the Type 3 phaser rifle, which is obviously this giant thing Nog is holding. I like this one. There is apparently a novel. There was a novel written by a Diane Carey called Station Rage. It came out 18 months before this episode aired. The book is about O'Brien. Odo. Odo and O'Brien discover a secret room on the station, and in that room are Cardassian soldiers in stasis, which later Garak revives. So it's almost like the episode, but it's based as a book written like 18 months before this episode comes out. So I'm probably going to try and find that book. And I think that's my oh my's. Oh my! Get that fucking cat out the way, will you?
Oh my.
Don't.
Clem. You have to move now. I've got a little show and tell.
Oh! We love a show and tell. Is it little, Dan? It's tiny. I know. I've seen it before.
It's little. It arrived literally today.
Oh!
Oh,
Oh, brilliant.
Created by Rachel, everybody.
Oh, how cool is that?
They're really cool. No, cheers, Rachel. I really appreciate that. They're epic. Absolutely fantastic.